Hello YouTube. Here we are at Willis's house. This is his garage. He's got two cars that fit in there. Got to put one up on dollies and slide it over, but yeah, they fit in there pretty good. But today he said he's gonna keep the main bearings. We're gonna change the rod bearings. That's what we're gonna do today. There he is. He's already ready already. Hey Willis.
Good morning, YouTube.
Hey, you got him? You ready?
I got them. I'm ready. How's everybody this morning? We're going to roll some bearings in.
Yep.
One more step to getting the 5.3 together.
Willis has got a bunch of the stuff already. Might be racing it this summer.
That's my plans. May.
So here's a 4th Gen F body with a back spacing of a rim that would fit like Christopher's car, an 80 Trans Am, or this 73 Le Mans. I keep wanting to say 72, but look at that. It doesn't stick out near as bad as I thought it would. Honestly, I thought it would be about right here. But yeah, it doesn't stick out that bad at all. And actually, those are the rims we used to run on Christopher's car. Willis bought them off of me, the 80 Trans Am.
Well, them the front ones. I sold them ones I bought off you.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Oh, well, they're the same rim.
Yeah, they're the same rim, exactly the same rim. Them are the front, the back is over
Those
here.
don't stick out at all.
Well,
It's just where this wider tire is on there.
well, that's the front wheel.
Not this one. This is your rear tire right here.
Yeah, that is, but this right here is the...
And he has it jacked up from the rear end, so it is that ride height. Yeah. There's the 8-inch. See it? Well, stick your hand. Look right there. That's where it's going to rub. Usually they rub the brakes.
Is there any, can you see?
Oh man, it's close.
I mean, it's close, but...
It's close, but it ain't touching. But I mean, it's close. See, that's where usually the 15-inch rim will rub on these cars. Now, if he had the correct back spacing, which I believe is 2 inches shorter, maybe, it would rub the rim. I think these are 3.5 back spacing. I can't remember. But I know the 15 by 8 on these cars, you usually use a 5.5.
I think that
And a
is
15 by 10, you use a 7.5. Well, we can measure it if you want. So the back space on those rims,
Four-inch.
4 and 6 1/16. It looks like. Yeah, 4 and 1/16. So 1.5 inch difference. Call it 4 inches, 4-inch back space. And those are the SS rims. They're a 17 by 10. You can just eyeball it. Yeah, that's a 7.5 back space.
Or 7 3/4 maybe.
No, I think it's more.
Oh, 7.5. Yeah.
Yeah, it's 7.5.
7.5 backspace.
Just eyeballing it, but I know that's what they are. Then you can see the stock rim. It sits in there pretty far. See, 1.5 inch. Really, isn't that 1.5 inch would be about right there. Not a big difference. He might get away using those. All right, I'm gonna use an inch-pounds torque wrench to start off with. 15 foot-pounds times 12 is 180. We're gonna do 180 inch-pounds because those big torque wrenches, they don't click very good at 15 foot-pounds. And we had taken this main cap off, so we're gonna go ahead and torque it back down. We took it off just to check the bearings on it. We took a couple of the rods off, but we ain't worried about that because we're gonna drop those all out anyway. But we're gonna torque the inners and outers to 15 foot-pounds, which is already too tight. Don't have to loosen it.
Oh, really?
but we're going to do the inners and outers. We'll do the 2 inners, and then we'll do the 2 outers. All right, now we're going to do 80 degrees on the inside and 51 degrees on the outside. And then these go to 18 foot-pounds. We don't have a fancy angle torque wrench, so we're going to use this. There's a rod that goes in here that holds this on the motor, but I've lost it. So I just try to hold it really still, and then just use your dial as it spins around to 80 degrees. And I like to see where these click at, just so I can go through all of them to make sure they're all tight. We're at 30. I'm going to start at 40. All right, so the outer ones, they're right at 55 pounds, 55 foot-pounds, in case y'all want to know. And the inside ones, they went all to 70. Now we did loosen these too. These just go to 18 foot-pounds, and we're going to put a little Permatex on them because those can leak oil. All right, I went through them all. Again, 55 on the outside, 70 in the middle, and most of them clicked right away. And this is from factory because this is the only one we broke loose right here. And then some of them just barely turned and it clicked. So that tells you from the factory, they're not all exact. But I just went back through them all just to put them all the same. And now we're going to start taking off rods. And we're going to try to change the bearings without dropping the piston out. All right, there we go. So we popped it apart, took the cap off, loosened this a little, loosened this a little, and then loosened that one, then loosened that one, took the cap off. Then we pushed the piston down. It ain't real far down, look, it's got a ways to go. And then I was able to pop the bearing out. You gotta have the crank in just the right position. And then I dried this up with a lint-free rag preferably. Then we can put the bearings back in it. But I forgot to bring my assembly lube, so we're going to use assembly lube on them. So we're going to go get some assembly lube. All right, we got some assembly lube. I like to use this Permatec Ultra Slick. Turn the light off here so we don't get glare. 81 950. You can get it at most parts stores. Now on these bearings, there's not a top or bottom on the rod bearings. You do want to clean this area off and clean it off on the rod, but you got to make sure that tang goes in these little divots here. All right, clean that off. Make sure you don't use a rag that gets a bunch of lint in there. And then we're gonna see the tang to tang. We'll just push her down in there even as we can.
Did you clean this throttle up?
Just like that. No, not yet. Just like that. Then we'll do the same thing on the rod side. All right, there we go. We got that rod bearing in right on the tangs. Tang to tang. And when you put the cap on, tang to tang. Now we're going to carefully push this piston up and guide this. I'll have to have both hands and guide this so it straddles that perfectly. But I'm going to put some of that assembly goo on it first. All right, assembly goo on. I got a little carried away, whatever. Now I'm going to push this up and I'm going to guide this to straddle that just right.
I need to smear that around my finger? Or?
Yeah, I would. That's about all you need there. I put way too much on. Willis got her good. All right, push the piston up with one hand, guide it on with the other. You got tabs, and on these Gen 3 rods, they'll have that little rounded piece. Just make sure you go tang to tang. You don't have to put it on there above. You just need it on the bearing. Got plenty. And then see, where's the tangs at?
See that?
Yeah, look at the tangs too, though. I like to look at the tangs. Which you can look at the rounded part too, but tang to tangs. Now on the Gen 4 rods, they're squared off, so you got to look at the tangs. But on these Gen 3 rods, they're rounded, and you can just look at that as well. Then we'll go ahead and put the rod bolts in. We're going to go ahead and tighten those down to 15 foot-pounds or 180 inch-pounds. All right, tighten that up to 15 inch-pounds. Try to tighten them bolts up evenly back and forth. You'll know if you don't have it right. If there's a big gap right there, see where it cracks at? That should look like there should be no gaps or nothing. And actually, when you tighten it all the way up, you can't even tell it's there. But it's there. It's right there. I rubbed my finger. But yeah, if you got a bunch of gaps and stuff in there, them cracked caps, you've got the rod cap on wrong. All right, 7 more to go. Willis was about to lube the cap and then put the bearing on. Don't do that. Put the bearings on the cap and the rod dry and clean. Most of these bearings don't look that bad. I don't know why they get that discoloration on the end. They like wear on the end.
Reckon it's heat?
I don't know. See, this one's got a tiny spot right down there at the bottom.
Right in the middle.
Yeah, better safe than sorry.
Right there.
Some may say that, you know, put new bearings in on a crank that's already been run on bearings, old bearings, isn't a good idea, but that's the way I've done my motor and Christopher's motor, and we reuse those rod and main bolts. From what I gather, them rod and main bolts, they're not torqued to yield. They're torqued to angle, but they're not torqued to yield, and you can reuse them. And we've twisted Christopher's 6.0 to 7500 with used rod and main bearing, or rod and main bolts. And my 5.3, I twisted it to about 7,000. Reused rod and main bolts. All right, we're about halfway through, but something I wanted to go over. If you got a rod bolt that looks like this, it's pretty much threaded all the way up, and it pulls out of the rod easy. These are the Gen 3 rod bolts. And you'll notice they've only got one divot. See that little divot thing? They got one little divot. Now the Gen 2, they got this metal sleeve that usually gets stuck down in the rod cap. And when it gets stuck down in there, the rod bolt won't easily come out. And those that have 2 dots, they'll have 2 or 3 dots. They'll have one there, and sometimes they'll have one there and 2 over here. But you need to know that because there's different torques depending on what you got. So these are Gen 3, and we'll go into that when we start torquing these down here in a minute.
For some reason, because of the rods, I kept saying Gen 3 and Gen 4 for the rod bolts. It's first design and second design for the rod bolts, and you'll see on the left here the single divot and the kind of threaded look all the way up, and then on the right 2 divots, sometimes even 3, and it's got this metal little shim, and the threads don't go all the way up. And like I said, that metal shim, it'll get stuck down in the rod, and you can't easily get the rod bolt out.
Oh, and if you do use new rod bolts, make sure to put oil on the threads. All right, we got them all done. Now we're just going to go through them and make absolutely sure. These are the Gen 3 rods. It's easy to tell on these because you got this curved side. But I like to look at every side and make sure there's no gap right there where they go together, because if there's a gap where they go together, then that's a bad deal. Now, as we was going through these, I torqued them all down to 15 foot-pounds. I'm going to go back through them again and make absolutely sure they're at 15 foot-pounds. All looks good to me. Now we're going to go back through them again to make sure we got them all at 15 foot-pounds or 180 inch-pounds. This is the first design. And then the one with more than one divot in it that has the little spacer that stays inside here that the rod bolt usually doesn't easily come out of is the second design. Now the first design goes 60 degrees, and the second design, well, 15 foot-pounds first. First design, which what he has, 60 degrees, and then the second design goes to 85 degrees. So the Series 1 rod bolts, they torque at 45. I've done this on the Series 2 rod bolts, and they're more around 50 pounds. These Series 1, they're 45, which is exactly what a small block Chevy is, Gen 1, Gen 2. The reason I like to find the torque specs on those is because I like to go back through them a couple of times to make sure I didn't miss any, because I've missed some before. I think on Chris's 6.0, I missed one. So if you find out what torque they torque at, and then you can go back through them. I went through that one. We did the angle, and then I went through it this way, and then I went through it that way to make absolutely sure I didn't miss one. Because if you put a motor together and you miss one, you're going to have a bad day. Oh, and that torque to angle I don't think works good anyway. Unless maybe the torque wrench does, because when I went back through them at 45, some of them clicked right away, and then some of them, it turned a little before it clicked. And the funny thing about it is, when I did that on the factory torqued mains, they did the same thing. Some of them clicked right away, and some of them at the torque I figured it would be at, and some turned a little. So I think the torque wrench works better. I don't know. What do you guys think? Hit the comments. I don't like the torque angle. All right, I reckon we're going to go ahead and try to get this crank bolt out. Pull the balancer off, take the cover off, and go ahead and stab the cam in it. Willis went with the sloppy stage 2 cam, same thing that's in the 1980 Trans Am with the 80mm turbo. That we run a 607 at 114 in the 8th mile on just 13 pounds of boost. This summer we're going to turn it up some, see how fast it'll really go. I'm thinking that turbo on the other car, the 80 Trans Am, I'm thinking it'll run up to 25 pounds, which should get us to a 5.5, I would think. Hopefully a 5.3. We can get sidetracked here, but anyway. Let's see what these cam bearings look like. Well, you know you're doing something when you break an extension.
A good extension.
A 1/2 inch.
Good extension.
I mean, it's not an impact extension, but still, that's a 1/2 inch. I thought it was turning the bolt.
Must be a good breaker.
Let's try this impact socket. Also, if you don't have, what is it, 21mm? If you don't have one, a 1 5/16 fits it. And this is the getup we got going. He's got that prod bore on the flex plate. And I got this jack handle on this breaker bar. The camera's getting dirty. Try her again. There we go. We got her. Now, a good impact probably would have got that right out of there. Sometimes they will, sometimes they won't. But the old breaker bar with the pry bar on the flex plate back here got her off. We don't have a good impact laying around here, but I saw good impacts not get that bolt out. All right, and we got this tool right here.
3/8.
Yeah. Stick that pin up inside the crank. Stick this bolt through there. And then put those tabs over there. I'm going to hold it back over.
Probably have to hold the other side.
Other side. Well, Willis puts the whammy on it. Again, the impact works good for this. His is coming off pretty easy though. He's doing that with a tiny 3/8 inch ratchet. And ta-da! It's off. He's already got the cover bolts loose, I think. We'll go ahead and take that off. All right, we got the cover off. Now we're going to flip it over and take the lifters and stuff out, because he's going to replace the lifters. I mean, if he wasn't going to replace the lifters, we could have just, with it upside down, we could have just spun the cam and put all the lifters up in the top and change the cam that way, but he's going to change the lifters, so we're going to go ahead and take that out. Don't you got that bar that goes down in there?
Somewhere.
Willis misplaces everything. There I was.
Yep.
All right. Oh, these lifters. Oh, he's already got the trays out.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
Why didn't you go ahead and pull these out while you sat it? We're going to reach in there. Might get in here and get some needle nose, man. Reach in there with some needle nose and grab right on the ledge of it.
Well, we could find the needle nose for good.
Hard to get your hand in there. Ugh. I'll take all those out. Sometimes them lifters, they don't like to come out, but if you work them up and down and then put them all the way down and pull straight up, they'll come out. Sometimes you got to work them up and down a little though. All right, we're going to take them 3 bolts out right there, 10 millimeter. All right, and then we're going to pull that timing chain straight off that dowel pin right there. Like that right there. And then we can snake the chain off, pull the gear out. Oh, I had you off the camera, didn't I? Now we got to do this cam retaining plate. Put those 3 bolts with the sprocket. Now we're going to take the cam retaining plate off with these 4 bolts. There, we got the cam retaining plate off. And look, that gasket actually looks really good. Man, that almost looks brand new. See that orange stuff? That's a gasket.
Yeah.
It looks really good. Wow. You might not need to replace that.
I think it'd be okay to
see. Oh, but that one looks really good, man. Usually some of that orange stuff is gone. But that one's...
Can you put a little bit of Permatex on it?
No. That'll Permatex will get in these holes and go through your bearings and everything. All right, we're going to put the cam bolts in right here. And we're going to carefully...
What gasket leaked?
You lose oil pressure.
You think it'd be alright to use this one?
I don't never reuse them, but that one looks really good. I'm going to be honest. And then we're going to carefully pull that cam out without knocking any of the bearings out. So you think you can do it?
I'll let you do it.
All right, so I pulled it out a little and it fell out of the journal. So this second one's the hardest. You got to kind of hold it straight and pull it out of the next journal. Line these journals up with the cam bearings and just carefully, I have to have 2 hands, but nope, you're not even videoing it.
No, I'm not.
I need longer bolts is what I need.
I can't even see where you're at. There you go.
Oh, there it went past the second one. You got to kind of line it up, not pull and push too hard. Once it lines up, it'll go by itself. Because if you pull too hard and yank, and you'll knock one of them bearings out of there. It should slide right out once it's lined. See, I'm not even hardly pulling at all. You're not even on the camera. See, once it lines up with the cam on those journals, it comes right out. Don't get crazy with it, because you'll knock them bearings out of there. For show. Anybody need a stock cam? Seeing those bearings, they always look rough. Actually, not even on the camera. You're a terrible cameraman.
Well, I'm standing sideways.
Here, hold this cam. All right, there we go. Actually, those ain't that bad. Until you look at the sides. Woo, doggy. See, it's when it's upside down that you see them the worst. See? They're rough.
They are.
They're always rough. Every motor you take apart of these LS, Vortec, whatever you want to call them, they're always rough, dude. Actually, once you wipe it off, it ain't that bad. See it?
What's it feel like? That's just build-up.
No, it's showing bronze, man.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, let me try to wipe it out. Or whatever that material is. But yeah, everybody just sends them, man. I replaced them on, as long as you got 20 oil pressure at idle, and it goes up to like 50, 60 going down the track, that's all that matters. Yeah, those ain't that bad. I've seen way worse. Seen way worse. Yeah, we'll send that. All right, we're going to lube her up with some assembly lube. We're going to, I thought the Elgin cams had writing on the back of them. I guess not. We'll see what the front says, but we're going to lube her up real good with that engine assembly lube we was using on the rod bearings. And carefully slap it back in just the same way we took it out. Try to go straight through each lobe, through each bearing. There you go. Nice and easy. The back one's the hardest because you can't get much of it. I usually go get longer. Don't push hard. You don't gotta push hard if it's straight. There you go. And this last one.
This is the last one.
Yeah, you're getting there. You're hitting the lobes on the... It's gotta go straight. Put them bolts back through there. It'll make it a little easier. What do I do with them? They're in the other cam, ain't they? If you go to the hardware store and get longer bolts, it makes this last one a little bit easier. But you just got to make sure that you get the cam perfectly straight and don't push too hard, because you'll push the cam bearings out. You may try it. That's blind and this ain't it.
You might have to.
Let me try it. It don't take much pressure. Yeah, it's kind of difficult to do with just the cam bolts. So what I did, because that cam, it drops down, and you got to lift it up straight. So what I did was I screwed this bolt in, put a pair of vice grips on it so I had a bigger handle, and just kind of lifted up on it, slid it back. There we go. She's in. We're going to reuse that cam retainer plate because it looks pretty good. So we'll go ahead and take these out and throw the cam retaining plate on. All right. See this orange thing? It's kind of like a gasket that where oil comes out one side and goes through there. But look, his looks really good. So we're gonna reuse it. Yeah, looks pretty good. Now there's two different kinds of these. Some of them are flat and some are countersunk. Now if they're countersunk, you got to use the countersunk screws. If they're flat, you got to use the flat bolts. I said screws, but yeah, these are flat bolts. So make sure if it's countersunk, it's got to have the countersunk bolts. All right, there we go. We tighten those cam retainer plate bolts up to 18 foot-pounds. And now we're going to put the cam back on it. Now I already know that needs to be at the 3 o'clock position, but now we need to turn the crank over and find the zero mark on it, the top dead center mark. So that dot could be hard to see, but that's it right there. Go ahead and get yourself close. Go ahead and put the number 1 piston all the way up, and you'll see it. See the mark right there? See it? That little divot. It's hard to see past the oil pump, but that's it. Number 1 cylinder will be all the way up.
Is the divot all the way up?
And then there's a I don't know if we can see it or not, but there's a keyway, and the keyway should be right there. The keyway should be pointing up the number 1 cylinder as well. So that's where it's at. Now we're going to throw the upper timing chain on with the dot facing down. And this one's usually pretty easy to see. Like I said, the dowel pin will be at the 3 o'clock position. Right there. This will be the dot. So you got to put the chain on and snake it on over that dowel pin at the same time. All right, just to double check, we got the keyway pointing up the number 1 cylinder. Number 1 cylinder at top dead center. And now we're just going to make sure that should be the one with the divot in it right there. It's hard to see. Shine that light in there. Oh, there it is. Yep, right there. So that's it right there. right there where my fingernail's at. See the divot? So that one should come straight up. Right where my finger's at, should come straight up to that one. Boom. We got her. Nailed it. It may take a few times putting it off and on to get it just right. But also a lot of people say, is that too much slack? In my opinion it is, but that's the way these LS Vortec motors are, man. They have loose timing chains. I don't know what that's about, but whatever. I changed the timing chain on one thinking, well, it's just too loose. A brand new chain and gear, same thing. All right, and we'll go ahead and torque these down.
What divot you talking about?
It's that round thing. Can you see it?
Inside the...
Inside there. I don't know if you can see it or not, man. It's hard to see. It's inside there. See right there. See that divot down inside there? See it?
On the front of the tooth?
Yeah. It's like below the tooth. And see this? It looks almost like this one. The same place, too.
It's lined up, though?
Yeah.
I can see it.
We can see it better right there. There I can with my glasses on. You see it? See it right there? Yeah, we can see it good right there. Straight up and down. Just like that. Now, if you're off a little bit, you're probably still in time, but when you turn the motor this way, this tooth goes that way, and then this one, I go that way. This spins once. This spins the half of what this spins. So if you we don't forget we got to torque those down. But I'm gonna tell you all this. A lot of people get confused. A lot of people think, let me clean my lens again. A lot of people think dot to dot is when cylinder one fires. Cylinder one's at top dead center, but it's on the exhaust stroke. It just blew the exhaust out. It's about to come back down and suck the intake in. Number 6 is on the compression stroke, ready to fire, dot to dot. And I'll show you. Look inside here. See them lobes? They're up. But now look over here on number 6. See, both those lobes are down. This is on the compression stroke. It's about to fire, and then the power stroke and push the piston down. And then watch this. We'll line it up. Both dots at 12 o'clock. And that's when number 1's at top dead center, ready to fire. See? Sucking in the intake. Sucked in the intake. Both valves closed. It's coming up for the compression stroke. Bam, the spark plug fires. Now look where we're at. Both lifters are closed. Both lifters are down. Both of them would be down. We're on the base load of the cam. And now look where we're at. 12 o'clock. Both dots at 12 o'clock. That's when cylinder 1 fires. It's the same thing on small block Chevy, Gen 1, Gen 2, Gen 3, Gen 4. I don't know up from that because I don't know about Ford or anything else, but I don't fool with those. I just fool Chevy motors. But dot to dot, number 6, top dead center, firing. Both dots at 12 o'clock. Number 1 ready to fire. And that's good information to know if you're working on a small block Chevy with a distributor. If you stab your distributor both dot to dot and make your distributor point at number 1 and have number 1 firing right there, you're going to be 180 out. But I try to preach that to people and everybody says, no, dot to dot. Dot to dot's when number 1 fires. No, it ain't. You try to teach them people and tell them different. But every time I do this demonstration, everybody's like, well, I can't see it. I can't see the cam. So we'll put the lifters in it. Here we are. Both dots at 12 o'clock. Piston at top dead center. Both. Let me make sure I got these straight before I go turning the motor over. Both valves down. Compression stroke, number one, ready to fire. Now we'll put them both back at dot to dot. All right, it fired. Power stroke. Piston's going down. And it's going to come back up. The exhaust valve's going to open. See it? Exhaust valve's opening. It's pushing the exhaust out. Now look at there. The exhaust valve's closing. The intake valve is opening. Where are we at? Dot to dot. See? Now watch. When we go down on the piston, that intake valve is going to come up. It's going to suck in the intake. See it? Intake's coming up. Piston's going down. Sucking in their fuel ratio. It goes down. Now we're going to, that's going to close. It ain't dropping down. That's going to close. We're coming up for our power stroke. Compression. And then boom, spark plug fires. Where are we at? Both dots at 12 o'clock. I don't know how many times I can show this and people still disagree with me. All right, piston goes down. That's the power stroke, pushing the piston down. All right, now the exhaust valve is going to open. Exhaust valve's open, piston's coming back up, pushing the exhaust out. We're at top dead center, exhaust stroke. Where's it at? Dot to dot. I don't know how better I can explain it. I don't care. I've put 100 of these timing chains on, and it's all. Some people say, "Oh, some timing chains are different." No, they ain't. When you put it dot to dot, you're always 3 o'clock here. You're always keyway pointing. The keyway pointing up number one, and number one's all at top dead center. Anytime this dot on the crank is up, you're at top dead center. Exhaust stroke is dot to dot. Piston ready to fire is both dots at 12 o'clock. I don't know how much better I can explain it and show it. Always forget the torque specs, but online it says these go to 26 foot-pounds. So we're going to tighten these up to 26 foot-pounds. All right, that's going to be our stopping point, guys. He wants to get a new seal. We're going to use the stock oil pump where he wants to get a new front seal. He wants to clean up and make it pretty. Yeah. He's got to get lifters. He's got to get head gaskets. And yeah, we'll get back with you once old Willis gets all that stuff. But y'all, thanks for watching. Y'all have a great day. You have anything to add, Willis?
Just y'all have a good day and just keep wrenching on them motors.
There you go. Whoop, whoop.